Have you noticed that? I thought it was quite harmonious, to be honest. Brilliant. Right, so recording has started. So as I say, hope you're all happy with that. Rona, if you would like to introduce yourself, or all turn your mics off as well if you haven't already. Sorry, Rona, if you would like to introduce yourself, and I'll load up your presentation.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, everybody. I am Rona Hawkins. I'm CEO, Service Manager at Parent Support Link in Southampton. Do you want to load it? Are you happy to do the presentation, Joe? And I'll just carry on from there. Thank you. So we are actually...
I'll grab it.
Thank you. We're actually a charity in Southampton. Our main base is Southampton, and we've been a charity, an established charity for 30 years this year. We began in 1993. A little bit of background history quickly before we go on to the good points, the big points that we're doing. The organisation, the charity began because a family in Southampton were having struggles many years ago to do with a loved one's substance misuse and had nowhere to go. So this lady, wanted to set something up so that nobody else would be in that situation as well, because it is a very lonely place to be, as I'm sure you're all aware. Dealing with a loved one that's, dealing with any kind of substance misuse or gambling, problematic gambling, it has that knock-on domino effect. So the telephone line began, a 24/7 support line, which we still have to this day. Like I said, 30 days on. We now work, the name is historic. So Parent Support Link, it is a historic name because it did begin with parents. It was support for parents with their children and substance misuse. We support anyone. It doesn't matter who you are. It can be a relative, it can be a friend, it can be a work colleague, professional, or whatever it is. We support anybody who has been affected by somebody else's drug or alcohol misuse and problematic gambling. So that covers a massive range of areas, as I'm sure you can imagine. We are based in Southampton, but we cover the whole of Hampshire. So next slide, please, Joe. Thank you. So what we do and how we do it, I've told you about our 24/7 support line. Again, that's free to ring. And, you can send messages through to us as well on that phone line if somebody wants us to call back, so we can access that. People can phone our phone line as much as they need. There's no cut-off time. You don't have, you've been on the telephone for a certain amount of time, we have to get off now. People can just talk. Most of the time, the people that are calling us, they haven't ever stepped over that kind of threshold of asking for a bit of support. So it's a big thing when they do call. It's taken a lot of guts for people to call. There's a lot of stigma around drugs and alcohol. So to take that first step to say, you know what, actually I'm dealing with something and I'm struggling, it's really, really massive, and we recognize that. So we're very soft. It's a very soft assessment that we give on the phone, very gentle. And I think the difference is as well, we need to remember that the people that are coming through to us, they've got to a point, no one's telling them that they have to access us. It's something they've got to a certain point in their story, and they need a bit of help. Okay, so they've recognized that and they're reaching out. From that, there's a range of different ways that we're able to support people. We offer one-to-one sessions, face-to-face. This can be done over a variety of ways. We can meet in person. We can meet in our premises. We use certain hubs throughout the whole of Hampshire. We can meet in the community. We can go and do a home visit. It is very much what is best for the client and where they're safest and where they feel most secure. So we arrange that. Again, with any of our services, there's no cut-off point. Okay, so people can access us, dip in and out. We've had parents, unfortunately, we have people on our books that have been with us since day one. The situations haven't changed, so they've always needed the support. Other people, everyone's story is very different and unique. So we cater to individuals, and I think that's the beauty of us as well. We have many support groups. We run about 2 different support groups throughout Hampshire, different days, different times every week. We have wellbeing workshops, and the wellbeing workshops are fabulous. They just take everyone kind of out of their everyday life. We do sessions on aromatherapy and mindfulness. We've got a session that does belly dancing, which is fabulous. So it's something different. And it's a really great group of people. Everyone mixes, everyone knows why they're there, why they're, doesn't have to be talked about. It's just an understanding between people. So it's really pleasant. We have the Stepping Stones educational workshops. Again, there's another group of workshops that people are able to attend, but it deals a little bit more in depth with dealing with guilt. We find that there's a lot of people, if a loved one's using, you kind of blame yourself, like, what did I do wrong? Why is my child using? Was it something I did when I was bringing them up? There's a lot of guilt around certain things. So we look at that and we try to help support that and kind of lift that, because it's a real dark place to be. Anxiety is huge. So we do workshops around anxiety and the stepping stones. And also knowledge. Knowledge is power. So if you've got a loved one saying, hey, the doctor has said to me, I've got to have a whole bottle of vodka tonight, having that bit of knowledge around what somebody can safely drink and so on, or just having a bit of knowledge around rehabs, what's going on, what's out there, it's really powerful, and it gives people that little bit of power to themselves as well. We do lots of craft groups, again, just something different for people to come out and be involved with. And we have whole family work. So we can work with a whole family together, and we're also doing systemic family work, where that will involve the other service user, basically, so the person with the substance misuse, so we can work all together. Obviously that takes a bit of time to get to, because everyone has to be at a certain stage, but yeah, very, very beneficial, the systemic family work. Next slide, please, Joe. Little bit extra, which we do. What have we got? In every area throughout the whole of Hampshire, everyone will have their own designated family support worker. So you will have the same person. It doesn't change. You don't get somebody different each week or each month. It is continuous. Every support worker that we have has got a dedicated area, and they stay in that area. So that's nice for people, that they don't have to continuously tell their story. Blended approach service. Again, what most people have done since the pandemic, we can be virtual, we're in person. It very much depends on what the person needs and what's best for them. And everybody is individual. Like I said, I think that's the most important thing. It's not one size fits all, not at all. Everybody is individual, and everyone has their own stories, and that's what we work with. Next, please, Joe. Yes, this was something that we took last year, the end of last year. We've noticed a lot more of it's mature family members that have been accessing us since coming out of the pandemic. I don't know if anyone else is having the same experiences. We've got a lot more grandparents have definitely come in and had to take over the role of being the parent to certain children. There's a lot of issues going on with the more mature family members. We've recognised that. Family members contacting after dealing with issues for a number of years. That's the other rise that we have noticed since coming out of the pandemic. We're not we get calls, we get a lot of people coming through the services that have just started their journey, let's say. But since the pandemic, we've had so many people accessing us that have dealing with situations for 5, 10, 15 plus years. And we've noticed that very much. And I don't know whether it's word of mouth has got out, whether it's the publicity, people are now realizing that we're here and they're accessing us, but we have noticed a big high rise in that. Same as everyone, I think. Mental health, it's been huge for us over the past year, really risen. The same as domestic violence and criminal activities. The complex needs, it is big. We're not just dealing with one certain issue. It is a whole complex need situation now. Next one, please, Joe. And just some of our contact details. We're obviously on always of social media on our webpage. anyone can refer in. You can self-refer, you can phone up on behalf of somebody, you can send us an email, you can get somebody to leave a message that you want us to call you back. It doesn't matter how you get through to us or how they are referred. You just need to get people in so then they can get the support and help them, which will help their loved ones as well. I do have, that's the end of the presentation bit, Joe. Thank you. I do have just a little, it's just a couple of paragraphs about a feedback from a client that we recently had. And I thought I would just quickly read that to you so you can hear a little bit about what people get from us. Okay, and if you want to look us up, obviously it's on Care's opinion under Parent Support link, but this person posted 2 weeks ago, our daughter has been addicted to ketamine for 15 years due to childhood traumas. She was helped by Inclusion, who suggested we spoke to PSL. PSL assigned Johnny to work with us. That was over 15 months ago. My wife and I have met online with Johnny on 11 occasions and on 1 occasion with our other children. Each meeting has given us the chance to say how we feel, where we are with our daughter's struggles, and what help or advice or guidance we felt we needed. Johnny has always been incredibly supportive, understanding, and empathetic. He challenges us with thoughtful and well-intervention questions, which have made us think differently about the situation we have found ourselves in. It has helped us not only with our other children to be able to support our daughter in rehab as well. We have written down many of the words of advice we have been given by Johnny and use them on a day-to-day basis. The support has been a great value and we look forward to each meeting. Even when we feel there is not much to discuss, we always end up finding some way of improving the support which we are giving to our daughter and also to each other in the family. And that's us, guys.
Brilliant. Thank you. Wonderful presentation. I've had the pleasure to work with Parent Support Link in my previous role, and they do a fantastic job and is a wonderful team of incredibly dedicated, diligent workers who just go above and beyond to help people. I can see one hand has already gone up. If anyone has any questions, please just put your hands up and we'll go around the room and we can ask them. Lenny.
Hi, Rona.
Hiya, you're right.
You. Yeah, that was lovely. Thank you.
Oh,
I used to work
thanks.
in substance misuse, so I really appreciate what you're doing.
Well,
So my question was, so you mentioned Inclusion.
Yeah.
So my question was, do you work quite closely with CGL and Inclusion and or statutory drug services? Do you get quite a lot of referrals from them? And my other question would be, you did answer it about whether you actually work with the person that uses, which you do as a whole family, but do you work with the substance misuser and or gambler separately, or would you leave that to CGL and Inclusion?
Yeah. So first question, we're a charity, so we are actually funded by Inclusion to deliver the Family and Friends project, which is fantastic. So hence why we're able to access all the hubs throughout Hampshire and work from them for people to come and see us and have those one-to-one sessions. So yeah, our funding's through Inclusion throughout Hampshire, and we have just now Southampton. Many moons ago, we were funded by Southampton City Council. Unfortunately, that got taken away, and luckily, thanks to our founder, the founder of Parent Support Link, Christine Tabano, she managed to secure funding with the lottery about 8 years ago now. We're coming to the end of this lottery funding, unfortunately. So if anyone is aware of anything, please, can tap into us. But the golden note from it is last year, CGL approached us and have funded us to deliver the family service for their partnership as well, which is brilliant. Yes,
yeah, brilliant, amazing, fantastic.
It is, it's great. It's really, because it works. Working with the actual service users and the CGL, Inclusion, SSJ, any of the above, it does make a huge difference. So yeah, most of our referrals actually come through Inclusion and CGL. But what was I was going to say? I had a really good trail of thought then, and I've gone completely blank. Yeah, so that is a new partnership. It is working really well. We're coming on to the end of our first year, and I can't remember what the other bit was.
Oh, no, it's fine. It was. So, did you actually work with just the service users? I know you work with the family as a whole, and then you also mentioned rehab.
Yeah.
So alongside that, would you work with the service user, getting them into rehab, or do you leave that to CGL and inclusion?
So yes, our bag is to work. Our speciality, we cater with the people that are being affected around. So their speciality, what they do and what we do, it is very different. We can work together. Like, so if we brought somebody in, we'd also involve the key worker. So then everyone's on the same page. We wouldn't work solely with the substance user. No, we would leave that to the specialist, which is CGL or inclusion or the doctor, whoever they're under, but we wouldn't work solely with them, no.
Perfect. Thank you, Rona.
No worries. Lovely to speak to you.
And you.
Thank you, Lainey. Does anyone else have any questions for Rona?
Oh, you've let me off really lightly.
You're off the hook. You're on the hook. You're saying them all up. They're gonna email them to you afterwards, Rona.
Oh, please do. I'll put my email in the chat, and if anybody wants to make any contact or anything, don't hesitate. Just contact me.
Brilliant. Thank you, mate. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Rona, for a wonderful presentation. I'll forward your presentation on to the network, the people here in the wider network as well, Rona. So that will go out either this afternoon or tomorrow. So I will forward that on. But as I say, thank you very much. You're welcome to stay and see the other presentations, or if you want to head off, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Well, we're keeping to time very nicely, which is good. So we'll try and keep that up. Karen, can I pass over to you, Dr. Karen Fennell of Solent University?
Thank you,
Do you have a presentation, Karen?
I don't. I'm just going to talk.
Cool.
But I'm going to just put into the chat the website that is the project website, and so it could be that people want to have a little browse at that whilst I'm speaking. So hi everyone. As Jo said, I'm Karen. I'm an associate professor of applied psychology at Solent University. 2 housekeeping things from me. This is the time of day that my broadband always ditches me, so just please bear with me. I will freeze, but I will come back as soon as I can. And I have dogs too, so if they start barking, I will just need to attend to them. But I'm going to talk to you about AMPHORA today, which is a project that I've been carrying out with a colleague at the University of Winchester, Dr. Paul Everall, who's an archaeologist, and we've been doing this piece of work now for about 2 years. So AMPHORA stands for Authentic and Meaningful Participation in Heritage or Related Activities. And essentially what it's about is that when we connect people to the past, it gives us an opportunity to learn about ourselves, and so it gives people that opportunity to reflect. But in that reflection, it can also bring up positive experiences, but also difficult experiences as well. So there's times when that reflection, those themes from the past can be challenging, and how the past can make us feel can also take us by surprise ourselves, with memories that we weren't expecting, with experiences that we have had that we might in the present find quite difficult to deal with. So when I'm talking about heritage, engagement with heritage, what I'm talking about is archaeological digs, but it could be visiting museums with the intention to go to a workshop or something like that, to work with artifacts, object handling and those sorts of things. So that's what we're talking about. So AMPHORA is, as I say, authentic and meaningful participation in heritage or related activities, and it covers sort of these ideas of how we best put in place infrastructure to help us all engage with heritage in a safe and meaningful way. Through the project, we've developed, and those of you looking at the website will be able to see them, a set of toolkits to support providers, social prescribers and potential participants to understand what best practice looks like for heritage projects that focus on improving mental health and well-being. And the toolkits are particularly currently for people living with mental health issues and the impact on their daily lives. And what we wanted to achieve with the toolkits is that project providers could use them to guide their work. Social prescribers could look at them to sort of ask questions of projects that might be saying, hi, we're here, we can help. But it will allow people to say, well, have you got these things in place? These are the things I would be looking for to ensure that the people that I'm putting your way will be in a safe place, essentially. But the last toolkit is a really important toolkit, and that is about the potential participants. So sort of helping them to ask the questions that they might want to ask about projects that they are linked with as well. The work itself came from a series of conversations that Paul and I had been invited to contribute to, which were about archaeological initiatives to support military veterans. And some of you might be aware of those, sort of like Waterloo Uncovered, Breaking Ground Heritage, Operation Nightingale. And for some of these organisations, they have been concerned that other initiatives are popping up that might not have the infrastructure in place and might not have the understanding of some of the risks involved also. So through funding from UKRI and particularly the March Network, and the March Network was about bringing together projects that harness assets for resilient communities. We were able to host a sandpit event that focused on archaeology for mental health and well-being, and the conclusion of that was that there needed to be guidance, and so we went for further funding to carry out a larger project to develop the guidance. And at this point, March wanted us to focus more broadly on heritage projects, not just archaeology, and for wider audiences, not just veterans. But it's what I really want to say here is that it's important to know that at the heart of the projects is lived experience. So when we convened the sandpit event and the participants, our panel, our experts, and when we carried out the larger project, we had experts with lived experience. For us, that was really important because it would give a really important voice to the development of the guidelines. So how did we develop the guidelines? As I say, we didn't develop them. Our stakeholder panel developed them through a Delphi consultation. So through a series of 3 questionnaires, the first one being extremely open about what do you think projects should have, what sort of infrastructure should they have, we were able to move to statements and consensus. So anything that was agreed on became a statement in the toolkits. That's how we worked it. And sort of to demonstrate really that they had a life of their own, there are things that, as I myself either wanted to see in there that didn't make the cut, or there are things in there that I perhaps didn't want to see that did make the cut, but it was important that it was the consensus of that panel. So they really do truly live beyond the research team. We just, as I say, convened the panel and carried out the research. So the guidelines are presented in 3 stages. We have project preparation, project delivery, and project follow-up. And each of those stages has a series of components. And as I say, those are the statements that were agreed on, that they reach consensus. So the project preparation concerns aspects of what projects should explicitly aim to achieve, considerations as to sort of who target participants should be and why, how initial contact should be made, along with considerations of how to support that initial engagement and that maintenance of engagement. Project delivery is about the importance of working in partnership, so heritage organisations seeking support from mental health professionals and vice versa, safeguarding responsibilities, project delivery that would help to overcome barriers to participation, what you'd expect in terms of staff expertise and training, and how a project could be delivered that would be most impactful. And then project follow-up is about expectations for evaluation, whether there should be evaluation or not, and then the types of post-project support that might be required. We didn't initially start with the idea of turning them into toolkits, but our partner, Historic England, said the report was dull, and they weren't wrong. So we got further funding from University of Winchester to turn them into a set of illustrated toolkits. So what we hope the guidelines and the toolkits will do is assist organisations, however big or small, funded or not, in the delivery of projects that can support mental health and well-being of those involved involved, as well as enhancing and protecting the historic environment also. But as I say, in terms of working beyond project providers to those who might be linking people to projects, they help to identify trusted projects that can be signposted to. That is what we hope. And so that's what might be of interest to you today, is that, you know, given the focus on heritage for wellbeing, there's been an increase in the offer of heritage projects to support mental health and wellbeing. But a recent study showed that social prescribers can feel concerned about the appropriateness of some projects, particularly given that they might be more likely to be funded as well. So there might be concerns about the ways in which these projects might be running and the intentions behind them. But by having a set of guidelines, it might just help to ask the questions that are necessary to make sure that that people involved are hopefully going to benefit from them. So our next stages then are these have gone out into the world and people are already using them, but we would like to know how they're being used and the difference that they are making. And my purpose for being here today as well is to really say they're not fixed either. These are living and breathing toolkits, and they will forever develop with expertise beyond the research team. So if you are interested in using them, we're not just interested in you using them or not, but we're interested in what you think of them, how you might use them, are you using them in different contexts for different projects, etc., and how can we keep developing them, essentially. So Joe, that's me done for my presentation. I hope that was okay. Where's he? Oh, there you are.
And your broadband didn't drop out once.
It didn't,
and it went cut by a dog. Ah, wonderful. Thank you, Karen. That was really, really interesting. I was sort of reflecting on what you said at the start of your presentation about how interacting with the past can be very cathartic for people, and it can be very it can be very positive. You know, that we, as you say, we can reflect on things and we can look at what's come before. It was funny. I was driving to the Lidl in Woolston yesterday, and there's the Churchill quote written on the wall. You know, if we don't look to history, we're doomed to make the same mistakes over and over again. The very completely paraphrasing, completely butcher it. But yeah, what you were saying about, you know, it's not really something I've kind of considered, that, you know, actually, you know, we need to have these this infrastructure in place to support people, so that when they are doing these projects, if it does invoke something inside, that they are well supported to be able to handle that and manage it, because things can be the most surprising things can be triggering. Yeah,
that's it. And I think, you know, it's one thing for us to experience those sort of to engage with those themes when actually that's not why we went somewhere. So, you know, we might go to a museum, we might go to an art gallery, we might, I don't know, see a quote somewhere, and it might cause us to think about certain things. But I think when projects are set up and the intention absolutely is to improve mental health and well-being, that's an intervention. You know, that and there's a consequence. If mental health professionals were providing that, we would expect certain infrastructure to be in place. So the same should go for heritage projects if they are explicitly intending to intervene, essentially. Yeah. And that's what the ethos is.
Brilliant, thank you. Agreed. Does anyone have any questions for Karen? Please raise your hand if you do. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to say as well, just to sort of quick, if people want to get engaged with you, Karen, are you happy for me to sort of share your email, or
I'm sticking it in the chat now,
formal
because
channels to kind of go through to kind of get them?
Absolutely, and that invitation of what do have you know, what do you think about them? How could they be developed? That's an absolute genuine open invitation, because these things need to breathe and develop and live. So
fantastic. Does anyone kind of have any immediate kind of thoughts for Karen on that thought now, or something, you know, we can take away and perhaps discuss later, or as I say, Karen's popped her email in the chat, and we can feed back to her later. I think you're in the clear as well, Karen. Someone's just put something in the chat. Rebecca, take me to see. Oh yes, Rebecca was talking about this we talked about this at work about sharing
Yeah.
memories of employment. Yeah. Are you there, Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm here. Is it all right to say
Yeah,
something?
of course it is. Yeah, of course it is.
Great.
Please do. Welcome it.
Thank
This is
you.
this is a
No,
very
no,
open
I've not been
space,
to
and,
one of
and you
these
know,
before,
please
so
please
great.
open and share any thoughts that you have.
Yeah, that was really interesting what you were saying, Karen. I'd really like to look at that more, about the thinking about the barriers that get people through the door to places is really on my mind at the moment, and how we make sure that the people feel comfortable when they know that they're going into a space that's safe. And I think, I mean, a lot of experienced providers of services don't always get that right. Actually, it's not just people maybe who are new to delivering services to people with mental health issues. For example, we don't have enough quiet spaces. People might, and we don't have enough ways of getting people from their front door into the activities. And it's something that we're going to explore in a participatory exhibition at October Books in April called Take Me to the Sea. And it's going to be an exhibition that is all about people sharing their memories of going to the sea, and also sharing their artwork if they draw or paint, or they write poetry, because most people say they love having access to water and that makes them feel good. But on the serious side, it's going to be a fun exhibition. But on the serious side, we really want to ask people, what are their barriers for getting there? And I was speaking to somebody who struggles with anxiety the other day, and they were saying it's great having all these things there, but actually I can't get out my front door. And if someone would just come and knock on my front door and and take me there, or just be a smiley face to help me break down those barriers, then he'd be able to engage. So yeah, we're going to do some participatory work. So I'm making a bus stop at the moment, and it's all around what's stopping you get to the places that you love. And I'd really like to be able to kind of encourage people to give their views on what's stopping them, and hopefully we can collect more and more data on those barriers in a kind of safe but in a fun, engaging way, in terms of talking about it rather than it all being about surveys and serious conversations. So
yeah, it's and the one dog has made an appearance in the background there. No, barriers is because you could build the most perfect activity, interventions, or whatever it might be, but if people cannot for whatever reason get there, it's an issue.
And then they end up feeling even more lonely and isolated because they know there's good stuff out there and they can't get there, and that's going to not be good for their mental health. So let's have those conversations and support each other. So it'd be great to sit down with you at some point and other people and look through your toolkit and maybe share our ideas of how we can implement those ideas, or how we have implemented the ideas in the past. And because I think we need to inspire each other as well, don't we? And as well as support each other. So really great talk. Thanks, Karen.
I'm really happy to do that. We're modifying the toolkits at the moment for, and it is heritage focused still, but we can and will move beyond that if you like. What we're doing at the moment is the Council for British Archaeology have a festival of archaeology every year, and what they do is one of the events is a huge almost like a market stall type of thing, where people come, they set up activities and experiences and things like that. And we've adapted the toolkits to essentially say, if you think about the themes that your activity can prompt, and just have a warning for people that this is about what they're about to approach, because it's very common for these places to even have hoping I'm okay to say this, to have human remains. And that's incredibly confronting, without any warning about it. So just to say, so the next exhibit is this. Consider whether you want to participate or not, and then for those people to think through what they would do if someone does participate, but they are upset by it. So just things like that we're working on as well.
Yeah, great. That sounds really interesting. Well done, Karen. It's absolutely fantastic. Nice to hear from you.
Thank you. You too. And I'll could you email me and we can keep in touch. Brilliant.
Thank you, Rebecca. Brilliant. Karen, I was just thinking as well there, what might be quite good is if we have another conversation after this meeting offline about perhaps doing some sort of training or a talk. We could do it on SVS, and if people want to come along and talk a bit further, we can try and put something together.
That'd be amazing.
Offline.
Yeah, thank
Bro.
you. Yeah, that'd be great.
Smashing.
Thank you.
Lovely stuff. Dr. Karen Bennell, thank you very much for coming. And just a general thing on dogs to anyone attending the meeting if they're working from home, dog participation is actively encouraged because dogs are wonderful and I'm not allowed one. So
I've got a budgie downstairs as well. So, you know, sometimes he joins in with events. Yeah.
Brilliant. Karen, thank you very much. Cool.
Thank you.
As I say, very much keeping to time today, which is wonderful. Peter, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks so much. Yourself?
I'm okay. It is good to see you. So we were supposed to do a presentation last week, Peter, but the week we had to cancel it twice. You had COVID first, and then I had COVID last week. Yeah, it was very unpleasant, wasn't it? Having the COVID, forgotten how horrendous it is. So Pete was supposed to do a presentation last week, so we've moved him into this one to talk a bit more about the physical activity navigation role that Peter does. Pete, do you just want to sort of give a background on yourself and I'll load your presentation up?
Yeah, so my name's Peter. I've come from a physical activity sporting background myself as an athlete, but also working in sports development. And I've been working on this pilot now since sort of summer last year. The 6-month pilot has been extended by another 6 months, and as you highlighted right at the beginning, time is flying by. So yeah, that's me. We started back in the summer of last year, and we're progressing. I got lots of open cases, and yeah, really enjoying the work that we're doing. So yeah, if you could put the next, it's only 2 or 3 slides. So if you could put the next one up, Joe.
The next one with your contact details.
No, the one underneath.
I've got three slides. I've got physical. I've got the title slide, and I've got this one: mission, process, and case studies. Is that showing?
No, I've only got the top one showing.
Okay, let me reshare. It wouldn't be a Teams meeting without some sort of technological difficulty. Right, I've got physical activity, community navigation pilot, mission, process, and case studies on screen. Is that the one you've got?
I haven't.
Have the rest of the group? Have you guys got?
I've got a blank screen, Joe, at the moment.
Oh no.
Blank.
Blankety
blank.
Blankety blank. Right, let's try a third time. Pete, I apologise.
I was going to say, if not, I'll just talk it through. It's not.
We'll give it one more try, and then if it doesn't come up, it does not come up. Thank you for your feedback, everyone, especially whoever started singing blankety blank.
That'll be me.
That'll be it. Wonderful. With the Juliet Bravo joke earlier as well. That went well. Right, third time's a charm. Okay, how about now?
Still nothing my end.
Okay, all right. If we're not getting the presentation coming through, are you all right if I just sort of I can prompt you on the slides or
no? I'm okay. I've got
all
some notes as an aid memoir. So yeah.
All right, cool. Sorry about that, everyone. I'll hand over to Peter and then I'll send out the presentation after this talk. I
was just going to say, because my contact details are on the end of that presentation, so people might be interested in that. Okay, so yes, as already highlighted on the Physical Activity Community Navigator, a brand new pilot, well into the second 6 months, and also been extended. Whereas originally 1 day a week, I'm now doing 2 days a week because of the demand of referrals that are coming through. So how it all works, referrals come through to the navigation duty box, and it comes from a variety of community health professionals. To date, we've had referrals from community independent services, rehab assistants, occupational therapists, social workers, health and wellbeing coaches. People can even self-refer. I've even had a parent make a referral on behalf of their son. So I don't know whether there's a limit to where these referrals can come from, but you know, it's great that these are all coming through. And the purpose is to improve individuals' physical and mental health by getting physically and socially active. So those health professionals I've already identified will be supporting somebody, and they will see in them that how they could potentially benefit from being both physically and socially active. So I get the referral come through. I get in touch and book in some time to have a conversation, to have a chat. It's normally takes about half an hour, 40 minutes max. Originally, I was just doing them on the phone because I was obviously only working 1 day a week and obviously very time restrictive. So, but now I'm starting to do some face-to-face. I'm a bit old school that way. If I can see somebody face-to-face, then it's better for me, but I also think it's better for them. So as part of that conversation, I've already got a very sort of brief history from their referrer, but the conversation then that goes, I also sort of identify and assess their needs, what their background is, what the kind of things that they would like to do, what their social financial status is, that kind of that kind of thing. So I've got as much knowledge as I have to to support them. And from that information, I will then go away. I'll book in a follow-up call for for about a fortnight normally. I will, from that original conversation, I will send the information through that I think that they will benefit from. So whether that be whether it be again sort of sports club, or whether it be like a social group, that kind of that kind of thing. And all this is all recorded, so everything is monitored, so we have a record of the conversation. So if we do need to go back to it, then we can. So the kind of opportunities I navigate people to sports clubs, sports centres, programs within sports centres, any social or community groups. There's certainly in the early days, there's a lot of people coming out of lockdown just weren't engaging with the community, so we're trying to get them out into community groups, so that whether it be coffee mornings, that kind of thing. They may be interested in volunteering. One particular individual, while chatting to them, found out they're interested in the environment, and wanted to meet people. So we found some walking groups, and litter picking, leaf collection, that kind of thing. So they're helping the environment, but they're also getting to meet people as well. Southampton is full of outdoor spaces, parks, and just encouraging people just to, again, just going for walks, not just good for your physical health, but also socially as well. Being part of a walking group, you're getting to meet new people and engage that way. One of the biggest partners I work with are called Communicare. I don't know how many people are aware of them. There's a series of volunteers who are out there to support people. So, and they started up a scheme called an activity buddy. So if I'm talking with someone who wants to, for example, this is a real case, someone wants to go swimming, or doing that aerobics class, they don't feel confident going on their own. I'm going to refer them to Communicare, who will go hopefully assign an activity buddy so that they can go and access that group, just to be there for with them and give them that one-to-one support. I did identify a couple of really successful case studies. One, an individual in his late teens, as a result of an operation, is now using a wheelchair, has a massive physical impact, but also psychologically as well. He develops lots of sort of self-esteem issues. He wanted to be independent, but didn't have the confidence to do that. Big on his sport. I don't know, I'm hesitant to mention this, but a big Southampton supporter. Not a great night last night. I saw it.
Let's not pull at that thread, Pete. Let's not pull at that thread.
Let's not dwell, indeed. But yeah, big on his sport. And because now he's in a wheelchair, he didn't think that he could be physically active. In another guise, in a voluntary role, I'm chair of a local wheelchair rugby club, and we encouraged him to go along to that. He already kind of knew someone that was accessing it anyway, so he wasn't going to be totally on his own. But I did also agree to sort of meet him down there. This is about 3 or 4 months ago. He's now a fully sort of paid up member of the club. He attends all the training sessions down at Surrey University, and he's absolutely loving it. He's now become more independent as well, whereas before he was sort of very reliant on his dad to get him around. He, off his own back, got himself a power chair, so he's now able to come along to the training session, sometimes on his own. So quite a real sort of success story there. Another one, a gentleman, this time in his late 70s, mobility issues, living on the top floor of a block of flats, hadn't been out at all over lockdown, but really in a keen walker. So encouraged him to go out, found him some walking groups, and he uses a rollator, so a wheeled walking frame, to support him. And he has a little basket on the front, and he takes his cat with him wherever he goes, and he actually uses that to engage with people. If you see someone with a cat in a basket, you wouldn't go up and say hello. So he's starting to coming out of himself a lot more, and even without even me prompting him, he's now joined a gym. So just by engaging with him, gave him the opportunities and directed him where to go, but also installing into his mindset that he needs to be more active, and again a real success story. So that's kind of where I am in a whistle stop tour, and it's proving really successful so far.
Good work, Pete. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you for coming through. Just got a couple of thoughts for me. So just one thing I would say as well is Pete works out of our Spectrum team, our Spectrum navigation team, and one of the things we're doing is when we come across people who might say they want to do a particular type of group that's doesn't exist, or there's a barrier that's stopping them to accessing a group. Could be maybe getting there via transport or anything kind of else. Our community development officer Sam is working with Pete to identify gaps, and when they are identified, what provisions do we need to fill them. So it's working really well. He's got fantastic rapport with the people he supports, and I know the 2 case studies he was referring to. He's done a brilliant job with them, and we're getting together regularly and looking to sort of see ways that we can sort of help fill those provisions and work with people. I was just thinking as well, while you were talking, Peter, just about some of my own experiences, you know, because when it comes to physical activity, not just kind of doing sport or getting involved in a group, there's so many barriers to people actually engaging and doing it. But also just how kind of difficult it can be to pluck up the courage to walk into a gym or a swimming pool or go to the football as well. You know, really, really hard. I went swimming quite recently, and I found it a really unsettling experience. You know, I couldn't get the locker to work. There was no one on the reception hotel, and that's the kind of thing that will put people off, and it will put people off for a long period of time.
This is where these activity buddies could be worth their weight in gold. So yeah.
Absolutely, mate. You're taking the words right out of my mouth. You know, this is the kind of thing, because it will, being able to bring people into those environments with gentle support will have huge impacts on massive other aspects of their lives as well. And I think as well, you know, kind of change people's mentality. You know, I think it's important to stress that the physical activity role isn't just necessarily about sports, about getting people involved in kind of sporting groups. It's about getting people more active. I mean, I know my partner, you know, when it comes to physical activity, it's something she thinks there are those people who do physical activity, and then there's the rest of us who don't, perhaps. I mean, for me, I don't think that's true. And I think everyone's got an activity they can do, but everyone, there's whether it's just walking around their living room more, or whether it's just walking to the local post office once a week, or just doing more things, that if we can encourage and bring that out of people to support them to do that, then, as I say, it will have fantastic impacts of their lives, and will really, really help them to make a change. Does anyone have any questions for Peter? No. Okay, cool. Pete, thank you so much for coming and joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I will send your presentation out. Sorry it wouldn't work earlier. If people want to refer to you just through the sort of standard student referral route.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, on that slide, there's both a number and an email address as well. But obviously, again, to be aware, I only work Thursdays and Fridays, so I guess I should say that.
Brilliant, cool. And you know, if people want to link in with you, just drop you an email, and you can have a chat with you yourself and Sam as well, if there's an opportunity that people want to talk through.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Nice one, mate. Thank you very much, Peter Hull.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's our speakers for this morning. I'm gonna stop recording now, and we've got sort of half an hour or so just to have a bit of a chat and just do some any other